thousands of protesters gathered outside the state capitol in Atlanta Monday, demanding lawmakers address criminal justice reforms, police brutality, and voter suppression. The NAACP organized a protest called March on Georgia. It went through downtown Atlanta and ended at the Capitol building Monday afternoon. The march coincided with the return of the legislative session, which was halted due to coronavirus concerns. The protest was to address police brutality, the criminal justice system, and voting rights, and it came on the heels of another problematic election in Georgia and the deaths of several African Americans across the nation at the hands of police. Willoughby Mariano joins me now from Atlanta. She is an investigative reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Willoughby, thanks very much for being with us. The NAACP's march covered a lot of issues. Is the legislature doing anything to address them?
Well, that's the big question here. The legislature reconvened after being sort of suspended because of COVID. And right now, they're staring at a hate crimes bill, trying to figure out whether or not Georgia should no longer end its status as one of the 4 states in the United States to not have hate crimes legislation. This bill would increase penalties. Now, there's significant, if a crime is shown to be racially motivated, and there is a significant amount of discussion on this. Will they or won't they? Some of the most powerful people in Georgia, and including State House leader David Ralston, support the bill. The lieutenant governor says he wants something stronger, and there's no guarantee that that other legislators will fall in line. There are people who think that this doesn't, would not be fair. Is not something that would work in a society that's supposed to be colorblind. So a lot of big question marks hanging out there, despite the bill's significant support among power players in the state.
And the mayor of Atlanta just announced some reforms in the wake of the police-involved killing of Rayshard Brooks in Atlanta. What is Mayor Bottoms proposing?
Well, so far it seems to be a two-pronged proposal first, and these are done through executive orders, so no vote is needed at this point. But first and foremost, officers would have a duty to intervene should they see an abuse or violation of reasonableness in a colleague's use of force. And second of all, she is convening a kind of committee or group of people to discuss what sorts of police forms to enact in addition to that. These are very contentious questions here in Atlanta, not only because of the death of Rayshard Brooks, but because of the deaths of unarmed Black men and women at the hands of officers, over the past years, including Mayor Bottoms' term. So it'll be these will be a series of contentious discussions, and also really important given Atlanta's role as sort of the birthplace of the civil rights movement. There's a lot of pressure to make sure that Atlanta does the right thing and is a leader in criminal justice reform.
Yeah, so many people are focusing on what happened last Friday in Atlanta. It's certainly a very high-profile case. Let's talk about Georgia's primary last Tuesday. A number of problems plagued that election, which took place, of course, during the coronavirus pandemic. What is being done to address some of the issues that popped up before the November election?
What is being done to address the issues? Again, this is very contentious. This issue is very contentious, and it's and it's not clear what will be done, because almost everything that could go wrong did in this past primary, and a lot of people have said that these problems would emerge. People couldn't work our newfangled voting machines, especially in communities that are predominantly people of color, Black and brown people. Now, there is some fight and well, this is an issue that's happened many, many, many times before. Most recently in 2018, the city was the state was sharply divided between Democrats and Republicans over allegations of voter suppression, and here I think the specter of voter suppression is reemerged because again, when I talk to voters who struggled to vote on elections day, who waited in 5-hour lines to cast their vote. A lot of them, and these are in Democratic strongholds, a lot of them blamed our current Republican governor, and who was alleged to have been involved in voter suppression during his election. So what will happen? Very much unclear from now, but there's a lot that needs to be done, certainly before November happens.
So I'm just curious, Willoughby, regarding these questions of voter suppression, is anything different now in the atmosphere that we're in 2020 with respect to these concerns, which, as you noted, it's an issue that was very much at the forefront in 2018. But given now that many people are asking questions about systemic inequalities, is there something different about the conversation around voter suppression that maybe didn't exist back in 2018?
Right now, I'm not certain. So there are a lot of open calls, including my newspaper wrote a front page editorial saying, "Hey, we all need to come together and fix this problem, whoever is at fault." But it's worth noting that as soon as within hours of these elections problems coming to light, the day of the election, the Secretary of State, who is a Republican, started blaming the problems on the primarily Democratic counties that had the worst of the voting issues. The 5-hour lines, the computer or the voting machines that would not work. Meanwhile, and a Democratic elected official here locally for DeKalb County fired back saying, "Hey, it's not our fault." So it's already that fight, that clash between Democrats and Republicans is central, and it's not clear if there is enough wherewithal, if there's enough political will for people to come together and do the things that would need to be done in order to fix this problem.
Debate that will likely continue. Willoughby Mariano for us. Willoughby, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.